Okay, take two on this. So what I wanted to do um, was take conceptually and kind of break this down to its bare bones of where this whole thought process started and work my way back up. And so the whole flocking maneuver and flocking concept started off with birds, and I wanted to see if I could make the flying V myself and see where I could go with that logic in the sense of um, given more time and expanding on this. Um, I I'm turning in the flocking V, but then in turn, um, if I were to build on this logic, how where can I go with this, and then bring in some of the more complex logic and stuff like that. Anyway, um, so breaking it down, you have to think, okay, where do I start? So I start with the leader. The leader has to move, and also taking pieces of where they start. So you'll see a lot of no. Okay, hide. Thank you. Um, so you'll see some remnants of their logic in mine, and you'll see where some of it didn't work and some of it does. Um, so but I'm all about how do I get what I want, what I'm looking for, minimalistically. So I have the public int size, or excuse me, public int flock size, the speed, the array list, and the follower prefab. This is as small as I needed it to be to get what I was looking for. The follower, all it needed, I found, was the transform start position, excuse me, and it's going to follow the path because it's parented or childed rather, excuse me, to the leader. It's going to follow the leader. Not to be any kind of like silly, it's going to follow the leader as the leader moves and updates because it's locked into that relative position. Um, Now, were I to bring in actual bird meshes and animation, what I would want was I would want to bring in more complex follower scripts to have a little bit more give, a bit more push and pull, like in their scripts, so that it would look a bit more realistic. In the sense of real life, they have this V that we're going to see, but it's not as stark as we see it. Now, at a distance, it does look that way, but if we were to zoom in, you would see that there is that bit of push and pull. But for this, for the vision that I was looking for, this actually came out perfect. Now, it twists and it turns to kind of show and prove to me that it could and that the direction changes as needed. But obviously, if you were just to see birds fly from one direction, they don't really twist in the way that we'll see it in the show, or in the simulation. But I just needed to know that I could change the direction as a whole if needed. Um, this is a simple controls, so this will just start the simulation and um, load the leader prefab, and in turn load everything else. But the reason I did it like this is because I needed a reference to the target index and the actual targets so that when we load the leader prefab, they could grab it from a singleton, so it can be elsewhere and it can actually be a prefab and still get those references elsewhere, because when we're a prefab, they won't have those static references. So, anyway, what happens is, similarly to in their reference, we're going to, on start, load up all of the entire flock just from one reference. And instead of it being an empty game object that we move, I decided, since I know where the starting point's going to be and I know that we want a leader for it, I want to go ahead and lead load the immediate head of that flock. And since I was looking for that specific V shape, I wanted to send it through a for loop with that shape in mind. And as you can see right here, it says even I and odd I for the right and the left side. So what we're going to do is we're going to push and specifically have those start positions be pushed to the right and the left and consistently pushed back from that leader parent. Okay, it's pretty. It took a bit of backwards thinking on my part. Maybe my brain just doesn't work like that. But as you can see, it took some some trial and error to get it exactly how I want it to look. And then on update, we just have the rotation speed, the direction, the target rotation. All this does is make sure that the look at rotation or the look rotation change smoothly instead of just snapping in the direction of the next update target index, of the next target index. So all this does right here is on delta time, we're just going to lerp the right here, lerp the rotation. And then the update is really simple. If it's within a specific distance, which I just set 2, we could change this as wanted. We're just gonna, move between the targets. So, like I said, I wanted to keep it as minimalistically as possible so I can kind of start from the ground up to see how I can get that kind of flying V and how I can start from the basic concept, which is, since it is called flocking, obviously they started from birds. And so if we start it, and it's a little bit easier to see in this right here, so I'll kind of back my camera up. Where'd he go? There. So you see how all of them, and it has that perfect V shape because we back it up. All of them are backed up specifically, and it goes to the right, to the left, to the right, and we can prove that by going here, and here, and here. And this is exactly what I was looking for. Now, again, if we were flapping, if we were moving, if we want them to move individually, we can absolutely bring in that individual logic. But for the view that I was looking for, this is what I wanted, because what I wanted was, and you can see them moving to each location, they all rotate, they all are pointed towards the next one. And that's what I was looking for. Now, if you wanted them to each have their own, like say you were bird hunting, and you wanted to be able to, they would fly from back and forth, and you wanted to be able to drop one individually. You would need them to have their own individual logic and their own individual hit boxes and rigid body, and bring in some of the, where is it? Bring in more of the, like say, some here, and bring in more complex logic like we see here with the direction and kind of build onto how they move together as a unit. This, however, as I was testing and playing with this is more of a clump attitude where it would bring it and as an entire ball of prefabs, it would move together. And that's not really what I wanted to play with here. I wanted to get that V, and so that's where I started. And then if we can certainly bring that in, and I believe this actually isn't the one. I think this is the one that, yep, this is the one that does the rigid body. So this would be the one, if you did want to go, say, duck hunting, we would bring some more of this into it. And then on collision, you would just drop it out. And then you could even say, push one forward or leave it, so you can leave the holes and you know which one you hit and this, that, and the third. Anyway, um, so there is room for improvement and there is room for expanding on this. But as I said, just to get the base started on how did this concept go to come to fruition and how do we get the look and the feel started, I believe that this was an excellent start. And this was a good way to get a feel. And like I said, I really wanted that V. Anyway, I'm rambling. So my main point is we can definitely bring in more of the concepts here without while keeping the shape that I'm looking for. And instead of clumping them up, these two concepts of right here can be married into one a bit more. It's definitely a possibility. Well, anything's possible. Um, but yeah, this is just, I wanted to start like bare bones and see where everything got me. And given some more time between other projects, I think it's going to be interesting if, say, you did, have these go back and forth and individual hitboxes. I think it would be interesting to kind of go duck hunting with this. Anyway, I'm rambling now. That's the end of this video.